Welcome to a presentation of the Affordable Housing Solutions Lab Innovations. We are going to show how some of our big ideas through workshops help develop affordable housing solutions. Over the winter of 2021 into the spring, we held a series of brainstorming workshops with industry professionals. This workshop process yielded with some ideas of how to look at a $10 million theoretical project for a housing that could be broken into $5 million worth of materials, $4 million worth of labor, and $1 million land costs. This theoretical project is going to be shown in these sessions of how we can create affordable housing innovations that save almost 40% on the cost of housing. After exploring these innovations, we actually determined some potential savings, cautions, and next steps to make them work. These innovations really lend themselves to really new ways of thinking of how to create affordable housing. We're going to now hear from some of our members of the innovations team on how these ideas developed.
As part of this project, we looked at project procurement and innovative ways that we could go about procuring the project. One of those innovations is using integrated project delivery, a delivery system which partners the owner, the contractor, and the architect together in sort of a mutual cost sharing benefit. But really what we're doing is we're bringing everybody together at the table very early on for high levels of collaboration and communication to ensure that everybody understands the exact scope of the project and really what's entailed and need to be delivered. Using an integrated project delivery method, we can usually assume a 5 to 10% cost savings on it. So in this project here, we're assuming a 5% cost savings on a $9 million construction cost, which would give us about $450,000 in savings just by using an integrated project delivery. We are also looking at progressive design build, which allows for design assist, which brings a contractor in during the design process to actually help out with detailing as well as sort of logistics about how the building would be built, so that we can get that knowledge when we're designing, so we don't end up with extras in the end for uncertainties that we had to make assumptions on. And then if we were to actually partner that with lean construction, which really looks at the process of building and designing so that we're eliminating waste from that system. And by doing that, we're then bringing additional value back into the project that can then be either put into the project directly so they can build more for that same amount of money or not. When we use lean construction, we're looking at about a 10% labor costs on $4 million and 10% of material on $5 million, which would give us about $900,000 in savings. So by just using an innovative project procurement method, we're in the neighborhood of about $1.3 million in savings just by changing the project procurement method to something that allows more integration and communication between all parties that will be part of the design and the construction of the building.
One of the biggest single costs in any affordable housing project is the cost of land. So anything we can do to save in this area makes a big difference in the overall affordability of the project. We explored 4 different ideas about how to reduce or even remove the cost of land from the development process. One idea we had was looking at leasing land from school boards. We know that there are a number of schools in older neighborhoods where enrollment has maybe been dropping in recent years. Rather than simply waiting for this school to close down and move out of the neighborhood, we think there's a great opportunity for the school to lease part of a large schoolyard to affordable housing that can be geared towards large multi-generational families that will provide enough students to keep the school viable and keep that heart of the community for other new homeowners moving into the area. Another idea that has great potential is to partner with churches and other faith groups who may have an existing church building that they no longer need and are ready to transition out of. One of the great things about these properties is they're often located in the heart of communities, creating a great setting to build a new community. The city of Edmonton has a number of real estate assets that maybe aren't needed anymore for specific city projects. Making these properties available for affordable housing removes that cost from the development process and provides opportunities for affordable housing in neighborhoods across the city. What's exciting about these surplus sites is they're often located in the heart of communities in a range of neighborhoods across the city. So not only can they provide affordable housing for the residents that will live there, they can also create a hub for the community and really revitalize those neighborhoods. And we can also think beyond simply surplus school sites. The city ends up with a lot of surplus property at the end of construction projects, like the LRT, for example. Properties were acquired along the route for construction phase, but aren't required moving forward. There's a great opportunity there to be providing land for affordable housing that's in great proximity to transit. The fourth innovation we explored was developing a checklist to be sure that we're doing full due diligence on any of this free land that comes our way. Because very quickly, free land can come at a huge cost. If it doesn't have the right servicing in place, or the zoning isn't there, or there's an existing building on site that requires demolition. Doing due diligence through the checklist helps ensure that all the cost savings through these different land acquisition processes are retained and put back into the project. When we apply these different approaches to our test case, we see that there's a huge opportunity for savings. So for example, the school board land lease concept, we could be looking at from $500 to $1 million savings on a $10 million project, which is a huge gain, which can help considerably in the affordability of that construction. Even the development checklist, it sounds very simple, but it can go a long way in avoiding unexpected costs in the tune of at least $100,000. And again, those could be considerably more if bigger issues are prevented from occurring. So this innovation provides an opportunity to avoid a host of unexpected costs that can really escalate the expense of constructing a new project.
So we came up with three ideas, three innovations. The first one will be a building supply co-op. The expectation there is that the housing developers, a group of housing developers, could combine to create a co-op to hopefully generate maybe up to 10% savings on materials. And given that if we're looking at a project that is based on a $10 million project with approximately $5 million of that being put towards the cost of materials, the impact on that could be quite substantial with a $500,000 savings on an overall project cost. The second one that we looked at was by generating direct relationships to manufacturers, we could leverage buying power. That would be that would generate consistently potentially a 10% savings on materials as well. Again, generating about $500,000 savings on a $10 million project. By again creating those relationships with manufacturers based on the amount of projects that a housing developer does as we go through the course of even several years, these relationships could be built upon to generate these kind of savings that would eventually create an environment that we could have enough savings to generate further projects as we go down the line. The third one, that innovation that we had discussed, was retrofitting existing buildings. Instead of instead of having a go-to of demolition of an existing building and then the reconstruction of a site, redevelopment of a site, if we instead take what we have and find a way to redevelop it with the existing structure, or even more, just a redevelopment of the interior of the building, this could potentially bring a savings of about 15% on the capital construction cost through utilizing existing structure.
In terms of savings for affordable housing and for the cost of labor, our lab has come up with two potential options. The first one being the development of a modular factory in which costs can be saved because the materials would be purchased in bulk and the materials would be constructed then into panels, which would save time on the building site and reduce the risk of it taking more time due to factors such as the cost or such as weather. However, what we learned is that this likely will not yield savings. It will yield savings, but over a significant amount of time, which then caused us to pivot towards thinking more about partnering with trade schools such as NAIP and leveraging the knowledge and skills of the journey persons that they have to use that as a form of labor to develop affordable housing. So this is a more viable solution than the modular factory, but it does have some potential issues to work through. The first one is that there's a lot of coordination and partnership required to meet safety requirements, WCB requirements, and other training things for that. But it is possible that this type of partnership would result in savings on the cost of labor and therefore allow more affordable housing to be built in Edmonton. Based on the $10 million theoretical project, it's possible that the partnership with trade schools would yield a modest savings of $10,000.
Most affordable housing will require several sources of funding. Guiding principles to finance affordable housing fall into 5 categories: site acquisition, construction or rehabilitation costs, soft costs, which is accounting, legal, and design costs, development fees, and financing fees. The evidence shows that providing critical housing needs and stabilizing families that may otherwise be in crisis helps generate jobs, tax revenues, and local business income. Housing that is affordable to working families and close to a place of employment is a critical factor to a community's economic health. Without innovative policy, private developers would not generate enough profit to consider investment in an affordable housing project. 5 innovative ways to fund affordable housing include leveraging financing terms with lenders, raising funds through instruments such as RRSP eligible investments, capitalizing on opportunities to purchase underdeveloped land, a community debenture. This is a community land trust where a community decides to remove land from the speculative market and preserve it for the purpose the community considers worthwhile. Land is usually leased instead of being sold, and the goal is to keep that land at a low value available for modest or low income housing. And finally, rent opportunities. During the Affordable Housing Lab, we used a $10 million project investment with 20% down, leaving $8 million to be financed. We found $1 million savings by leveraging loan interest to reduce the principal. This reduced the financing cost from $2.6 million to $1 million. This was a reduction from 4 to 2.5% interest on the principal loan.
So then the last part that we're looking at is the cost of operations. It is broken into 2 components. One is energy use, and the second is how the property is managed. Under energy use, we're looking at reducing the amount of energy we're using using net zero technologies that can assume a 5% savings of $5 a square foot. Say on a 30,000 square foot project, we're looking at an annual savings of $150,000 by implementing those net zero technologies. Of the energy that we still do have to use, we're looking at a power purchase agreement, which is basically a bulk rate of energy purchasing. We're creating a collective that we negotiate with the utility company on the energy that we do use. We're looking at potential reductions of energy costs down to about 5 cents a kilowatt hour for a total savings for the year for the project of $25,000. Then going to the property management portion, by having a hiring process, an operational procedure that allows for more interaction between the property management's values with those that align with the community, we're maintaining a tenant within the building, reducing tenant turnover. That in turn is a savings in operations of approximately $10,000 per year based on the cost of a tenant move in, move out. And so the total savings for the operations side is a grand total of $185,000 per year savings using energy reduction as well as tenant turnover reduction. Thank you.
If we tally up all of these innovations and ideas to utilize them for affordable housing, we can see that we've saved $3.695 million on a $10 million theoretical project. That is over 36% savings on a relatively medium scale project. We see enormous potential for this to scale up even more as the projects increase in cost or size. This has been an amazing opportunity for our lab to explore these ideas, and we look forward to prototyping in the future.